Hello, this is step 3 of the case study analysis. In the previous step, we were looking at identifying problems. Now that we've identified some problems, we're going to begin to research it. And as we learned in the Learn section of researching, this always involves forming questions, identifying sources, collecting data, and then attempting to answer those questions with the data. So in order to do this, I'm going to look back at the end of step 2 of some of the analysis of identifying the problems. And in there we found that a thorough understanding of ICPs needs to be examined. We also found that we need to look at motivation, about recognizing and valuing employees, and looking at seeing whether or not ICPs were fair. So we take this information and we turn this into questions. And here I've formed 3 basic questions. What are ICPs, and what situations are they fair, and what situations are they not fair? What are some of the ways that successful managers motivate their employees, and what are various ways that managers can show recognition and value their employees? So we're looking at these 3 areas. Now where am I going to look? Well, for question 1, defining ICPs or determining fairness, we're going to first probably look at a wiki. You can look at business dictionaries, sometimes journal articles, but since this is sort of an introductory to the area, you probably don't need to get into journals right away. For the next question about motivation and recognizing value, recognition and value, this is probably a good area to look at journals. They're more likely to give you the kind of information you're looking for. And that's because this is more in-depth. Wikis are great for giving us a surface understanding of things. So now I've identified where I'm going to begin my search. I wrote out my questions. Now I've altered what I'm looking at. When you look for a definition of something, you're looking for really sentences that have be verbs. That is. What is this? Next, what you're going to look for is an example that explains it. And you're going to do this every time you look for a definition. You want to understand, what does it mean? How is it applied? And then finally, as I say in this part here, a short summary of who agrees and who disagrees with it. Now, not all sources will have this information, but this is really what I'm always trying to look for every single time. And as a teacher, this is what I'm always asking my students. I'm asking them to define something, give me examples, and then give me some viewpoints as who agrees with something and who disagrees with it. I'm always looking for this information every single time, and you should too. So now I simply want to take the phrase, I don't have it here, of incentive compensation program. So I'm going to take that phrase and I'm simply going to look into Wikipedia or the internet in general. So incentive compensation program. Okay, and I'm going to type that in here. And I've done this before, and I've pulled up Wikipedia. And I'm going to do it here. So here we have an incentive program. So under that title, it gave us a different word, but that's still very helpful. An incentive program is a formal scheme used to promote specific, to encourage specific actions or behavior. It's used in business management to motivate employees. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to take this whole phrase, copy it, and I'll put it into my document. So I can simply say ICPs are, quote, I'm going to change it, are incentive programs just change it, are used to promote or encourage specific actions. So, and I'm going to put this in quotes. I always like to do this. It's nice to give the link where things are from, especially if you have to cite it later on. in terms of your homework, and I can write down retrieved. Today's the 5th of July, 5 July from, and I give the reference. Okay, it's always good to have this as a habit, so that you know where information comes from. Now, in looking at the incentive about a definition, I found that it's an incentive program. Now, what I found is also some interesting information. I found that it's also called an incentive program. I've also found that, according to this, scientific literature refers to this concept as pay for performance. Now, that's very useful, because if I really want to understand in more depth of what it's about, it's important to find the key terms. Every field has key terms, and part of the fun of doing research is discovering what those terms are. And so I can click on this and find more detailed information. I'm not going to do that here because in terms of time. Now, what I want to do is I want to find an example that explains it. Well, I can come back to the text, and we can find right away there are types. And we have a points program, we have employees, we have consumers, dealer channels, sales, online programs. So some of these are targeted at employees, some of these are targeted at consumers. So they're different kinds right away. Now, I don't really want to know about the consumer because it doesn't relate to the case. I want to find out more about the employee types. I want to know more about maybe sales. So those two relate. So those are, I would be focusing on my research in that area because that's where my interest is. Also, I can look at different types of rewards. So because the case itself relates to rewards, monetary rewards. So we can see that there are two types, monetary and non-monetary. So this information becomes very useful. Okay? So I can write there are various kinds of incentive programs aimed at both employees and consumers. Those related to employees include rewards and non-rewards programs. Now, and then I could list that information, and that would be helpful to explain it. What are the rewards types? What are the non-rewards types? Now, what I still don't know in terms of the question is who agrees with it and who disagrees with it. So again, I can come back here. In this particular text, it doesn't give me any information on this. So I might go back and look at incentive compensation programs. And oftentimes, if you write the word criticism, you'll find that. And we have a number of things here. Why incentive plans cannot work. Harvard Business Review. That's probably a good source. That's a journal. But Harvard Business Review requires that you pay. I don't want to pay here. Here we have an executive compensation program. This might have more information on this. Earlier I looked at, here's an article here at Santa Clara University. It's printed on a university site. It says the dark side to incentive compensation. So this would likely give me the information I want to find. So these are some of the tools that you can use to help you to answer these questions. Now, I'm not going to answer those questions right now because it takes more time. In addition, if I want to answer these next two questions, I could look at motivating employees, recognition, and value. I'll look at just employee. I won't copy those there, but let's just go back to motivation of employees. Not PDF, but here's employee recognition. And here's a number of sites here: motivation through recognition in the workplace, the impact of rewarding recognition employees on programs on employees. So here are some academics, looks at something academic. 5 steps to increasing employee motivation. So this is probably a general journal. We have some PDF articles here. Here with Forbes, the secret to motivating. So Forbes happens to be a business newspaper aimed at a more general audience, but it's useful. Here we have an advertisement. I don't want to see that. Continue to cite. The secret to motivating your team. So this is a general information similar to an encyclopedia, and usually gives me more of that kind of information. It's not so it's helpful for giving me an introduction into a particular topic, but it won't give me the details or the arguments that you'd find in a journal. So this would then help my search to actually find more specific information. Again, I would use that information and I would write down an answer. And so this is what I'm looking for in trying to do research on these types of questions. And of course, it applies to all of your situation as well. In addition, for research, the library here at HKUST provides a number of sources, journals and databases for you to answer those types of questions. And I would suggest talking to the librarian, going to the library and ask them, where would I find this information? And they would be more than happy to show you. So this concludes this portion of this